I'm going to share a few things with you, some things that I didn't learn from my homeschooling mother. You would think having a homeschool mom that I had it all figured out, that I had a leg up. Well, I could have, but I didn't. I chose to make it harder on myself because I was paralyzed with fear. There was things about my mother's example that I didn't take to heart that I wished I would have. And so I'm going to share just a little bit about my personal experience, but I want you to understand these different points as I weave it through the content and through the course. Like I explained, my mother homeschooled my sister. She didn't homeschool me. I was older, but my sister was having some problems in public school. But my mother started homeschooling at a time when it seemed like the homeschool movement was underground. It felt like that. And although homeschooling has not ever been illegal, it felt like that too, because so few people knew about it. Today, it's not like that for you. You have the opportunity where thousands of homeschooling families and pioneers have gone before you to pave the road, to make it easy for you. I'm so glad. But still, with that, you have paralyzing fears. And I want to share a few of the things that I didn't learn from my mother that I want you to learn from the example of all those thousands of homeschooling pioneers that went ahead of you. And it's a little bit about my personal experiences too. So my mother had all the courage, and it didn't seem like fear at the time. But of course, I had conversations with her since then. And of course, she was homeschooled in fear somewhat, but she knew that the homeschool approach was the absolutely best educational approach for my younger sister, and she was right. Now, at that time when she started homeschooling, in the late 80s, early 80s, there wasn't that much curriculum to choose from. Now, curriculum options have just exploded. That's a good, bad thing, but we'll talk about that when it comes to curriculum. But at that time, all she really had to choose from was the same thing public school was using, which is a boxed approach. So she went down, she purchased a Becca in quiet, no one knew about it. And then incognito, we would go over to another homeschooling family's house and he would explain to all the parents how to use it. Now, of course, you have to remember, my mother told us to lay down in the back seat of the car because this was during the school hours. She didn't want people to see us going over to a meeting. And at that time, I had off part of the day in my high school so I could go with her. So she took my younger sister and myself, and I went in, I sat in on this homeschool meeting, and I really didn't appreciate at the time the courage, being bold, the empowerment these parents had come together to support each other and what they really had, realizing they're really going against the grain. Sure, we still go against the grain today when we homeschool, but it was just so different there. And I wished I would have just infused more of that in me when I first started. I wished I would have focused on the right things and not the wrong things, because although the first year is important, really you need the motivation and the inspiration for the length of the journey, But if you don't start right, when I mean right, with the right ideas, the right set of motivations, and get off the public school mindset, you could be doomed from the beginning, like I was. Let me explain what I did. When I had my first son, I took him in my lap when he was 3 years old, and I started teaching him to read. And it was just a natural process. I pointed to the words on the book, and he repeated them. And before you knew it, he was mouthing them back. Now, of course, he was memorizing them and just repeating what I had read to him, but that's okay because reading is part memorization. But what I was doing, and I didn't realize, was modeling to him how to learn. Just with a blanket, it was comfortable, pulled him up, set him up in my lap, pulled the blanket up, my cup of coffee, tea, whatever I had, and that was it. Also, what I did was I got one of those box subscriptions come into my home. You know, they have the crafts and the book. And I taught him the skills from that box. But then I had my second child. I was pregnant with my third child, and my time wasn't the same. I was exhausted. I was afraid he was going to get behind. When I don't know who those people are that we were behind, I'm still looking for them. But we always think we're going to get behind. We're not sure what behind is, but we're thinking we're going to get behind him. We don't want that. We don't want to be behind him. We want to be in front of him, or do we? We're not sure. But the point is, I started homeschooling in fear. I doubted my ability. So guess what I did in kindergarten? I took him up to public school, and we put him in public school. That kid cried the whole first day, the whole second day, the whole third day, all the while the teacher telling me, it's normal, it'll be okay. Well, maybe a kid gets used to that, but it's not natural. It's not natural. Not only did he go in kindergarten, but the teacher realized suddenly how advanced he was. He was already reading. I didn't know you didn't have to read when you went to kindergarten. I thought that was my job, to teach him to read. I went up to the school to help with him because I felt he was going to get behind. See, what I failed to do was realize how much progress we had really made in a relaxed way. And you know, that's not what new homeschoolers want to hear. When people say, well, just relax, just relax. They're so frantic about finding the right curriculum. Am I going to mess my kid up? That's the last thing they want to hear. But it's true. It's true, because homeschooling's just not that hard. And why? Because we're spending one-on-one time with them day to day. I doubted myself. I put a lot of pressure on myself the first year, and I gave up. I gave up. And I'm not a person that is insecure about my abilities. No, my background is not public school teacher, like probably you. Maybe some of you are public school teacher, but I'm here to tell you sometimes that doesn't even really help, because these are your kids. They're very different. They're very different, and you want to teach just to them. Well, in school, she also said that she's identified him as gifted and talented. Now, I didn't really believe he's gifted and talented. I just felt like he was a kid that had a mom that spent a lot of time with him. But I really learned from that first year of kindergarten. So what did I do? Took my toddler on my hip, went down there, and took that kid back out of school. And on my way out of public school, tears just poured. I was happy, but at the same time, I was afraid. Thought, all of this weight is on my shoulders now, and my husband's shoulders, to teach him and the siblings that come after him. But I'm here to tell you, it is the best thing that I have ever done. He was 3. I taught him to read and write by kindergarten, not knowing that it wasn't normal for them to read. Kids are still learning their ABCs in kindergarten. I put a lot of pressure on him to perform. I put a lot of pressure on myself to perform. But you know what? I look back and I realize it's okay. It's okay. We always do that with our first kids. And if it's our first year of homeschooling, we seem to do that. We don't want to do that. And that's what I'm here to tell you. Try not to do that. Try not to put pressure on yourself. I didn't learn from my mom that even though she didn't have the best system, she didn't have the best curriculum, she only had one option. She had a dogged determination to know that her time spending with my younger sister was the best thing ever for my sister. And it was, and she was right. She was right. Fast forward 20, 22 years now later, my son has turned out just beautifully. Now, of course, I'm biased, but he's well-read, he's intelligent, he's mannerly, and so are the next siblings that came behind them. And I taught them all how to read and write. You can too. But if we don't realize that homeschooling is very much a different approach than public school, and if you don't realize too that sometimes when we don't even have the best of curriculum, if we don't have a budget where we can really say that, oh, we're going to choose the best out there, do you know that none of that matters? None of it. What matters is your love for your child and your determination to see this through to the end and to realize it's a journey. It's not just something you're going to do for your first year. Oh, I'm going to give it a try. I learned from that. I learned from that sending him back to public school. I never looked back. Yes, I had tears. And yes, I made a lot of mistakes through my first year and second year of homeschooling. I burnt myself out. I burnt out a computer, a printer. My kids didn't like me. My husband didn't like me. I didn't like my house, how I was leaving it and not taking care of it, because that's not me. But I learned so much and things that I wished I could have done differently. So through this course, it's not just my experience I'm sharing, but also from that experience, I wrote a program for new homeschoolers, and I taught workshops in person. I met once a month with new homeschoolers. So I know some of the issues that they have and the questions they have. And do you know what? Sometimes there's questions you don't even know you have right now. And I know those, and I'm going to present those to you in this course. So I encourage you to take advantage of all of it. Take your time going through the course. Do you know that I read stats that said only 1 out of 5 persons really completes the course? Don't be that 1 out of 5. You have time. Finish this course to the end. Look at the pages, the printables, answer the questions, think about it. Don't make my mistake. I'll be sharing some of my other personal experiences as we go through the content and the creation, but I just wanted you to know that you've got this, and I'm here for you.